Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Axim Biotech's channel, Innovative Diagnostic Solutions, forefronting the industry. We have John, the Chief Executive Officer, joining us as always. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We got a lot of big news to dive into today, and we might as well kick it off with the forefronted news as Axim develops the rapid quantitative tier test for MMP-9, an inflammatory biomarker for dry eye disease. Now, I know this is a big one for you guys, so break this down and tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, so we've now developed a quantitative test, and that's the key word is quantitative, because it can actually measure the levels of MMP-9. And MMP-9 is really important in eye care because it is inflammation is the underlying condition. So what we're measuring is inflammation of the eye, and which causes glaucoma and all these other problems that you have, pressure and everything else in the eye. And so why it's so important is that it's quantitative is that there's another test out there by another company that is qualitative, and they do millions of dollars in revenue with that test, but it's qualitative. It just tells you yes or no, below a certain or above a certain amount of MMP-9. Ours actually measures the level of MMP-9. So their test is at a 40 cutoff, let's say, and ours, we're able to measure quantitatively up to whatever number. Some people have very, very high numbers. So somebody could have a 300 number. And now the doctor is going to prescribe eye drops or heat pads or plugs or whatever they're going to do, whatever treatment they're going to do. And then they're able to come back in a month or 6 weeks or what have you, and then run another test and see whether or not that treatment is working. And that's the key. Is to be able to actually quantify and see the test and see what's working with this test. And that way you can measure what the treatment is doing for somebody.
Yeah, you mentioned two things in there I wouldn't mind you expanding on. You talked about some of the competition there and the amount of revenue they're generating. First and foremost, do you mind just talking about the market scope capability, which I'm sure we've iterated in the past, but some updates on that would be great, along with perhaps just discussing how the manufacturing process and distributing these tests and just getting it out into the market are, and just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that we've developed the test internally in the lab is fantastic. We're optimizing the test as we speak, but there's a lot more work to be done. So we're going to have to run a clinical study and file for a 510K with the FDA before it finally gets approved. But we should be able to measure it against other tests that are out there, and I don't think it's going to be that brutal of a filing and a clinical trial. And also, one of the keys that we have is, we've put together just a tremendous world-class board of medical advisory board of doctors that we have, of eye care doctors. And so when we get the test available to them, we'll be able to run clinical studies through our medical advisory board, which will literally save us millions of dollars. And that was the purpose of having these guys come on and sign up with us. And so this way we can get the test to market faster, much cheaper. And then, at some point, obviously, we'll start selling the test. And hopefully by that time, we've already got our lactoferrin test and our IgE test, which are already at 510 FDA approved or cleared. I'm sorry, using the wrong language as the FDA. But so those are already cleared. So we're going to start selling those here, hopefully here in the second quarter. We're pretty sure we'll be able to knock them out in the second quarter. The reader that measures all of these tests are quantitative. So it actually, you put the test into a reader with the tier, and it puts out a number specific to that patient. So when the MMP-9 test comes along, the eye doctors, hopefully we've already got a bunch that are out there, one. Two, it's able to use the same reader. So the doctor doesn't have to have 5 different machines for 5 different tests. Same reader, same, as many tests as we have.
That's great to hear. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how this develops. And in other news as well, I mean, on the COVID front, which a lot of people thought we'd be over this, but it seems like it's going to be a permanent flu that might be seasonal depending on the flare-ups. But do you also have that COVID neutralizing antibody test? Do you want to update that as well? I saw a news release filing there.
Yeah, so we put out a press release. So we're now offering the test for research use only to universities, clinics, labs, anybody, there's therapeutic companies that are working on COVID. There's still, there's thousands of organizations that are doing research on the test, and we don't have to have the FDA approval for that. So we're able to actually offer the test. And the test, again, is the easiest test there is for these people for neutralizing antibodies. because we just use a finger prick, a drop of blood, and in 10 minutes we can tell you your exact levels of neutralizing antibodies. And so that could, is very important for people who need a booster, let's say. And although this Omicron is not nearly as serious, and maybe the BA2 is not, who knows if it mutates again and where that's going to mutate to. So there's a large population out there of immunocompromised people and people that have underlying conditions and cancer and so on, that really need to know, am I protected or am I not protected?
Yeah, I really feel like you guys kind of have a diverse portfolio with a bunch of different timeline catalysts. So I really look forward to seeing some of the updates, but I appreciate your time today, John. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks again for having me.
Always a pleasure. On that note, I pass the question off to you guys. I'll let us know what you think about Axim Biotech in that comment section below. Consider subscribing, because as news comes down the wire, we'll continue to update you here. But stay cool, stay awesome. And as always, I look forward to catching you in the next one.